Hello, this is Heather Gates, and I welcome you to the Stand in the And podcast, where we have honest conversations about the messy complexity of the human experience, where we get stuck, and how we find forward, in the and of it all where many things are true at once. This podcast is designed especially for those of us who want to make things more beautiful and better for everyone, and sometimes need reminding that we are human too. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome back to the podcast, y'all. This is Heather Gates, and I'm joined today by one of the incredible members of my Humaning in a Body care team, Dolly Pressley Byrd. Dolly, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. Before we get started, I do want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself in whatever way feels good to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation with you. Thank you. It's
Welcome.
always fun when we get to spend some time together. I am Dolly Pressley Byrd. I happen to be a Western North Carolina native, born and raised. Have lived in other places across the Southeast and Northeast, and have been back here for 20 years, working. This next month is my 20-year anniversary. I am a certified nurse midwife, and I work at MAHEC, Mountain Area Health Education Center. So I have had the privilege of taking care of many incredible patients, pregnant women, parenting women, patients for both their prenatal and their gynecologic needs. So that is my story and who I am. Also, mother, I should say, I'm mother of two incredible boys who are 19 and 20. They're both in college, and have an incredibly supportive spouse whom you also know and have worked with.
I did not realize you had been, you were back 20 years. That was, I just didn't, because I've been here about 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
So how kind of new you were when our paths must have crossed.
Yeah, exactly. So we actually lived 20 years ago. We lived in New Orleans. My husband was in graduate school at Tulane when Hurricane Katrina hit. And we evacuated here to my parents where I grew up for what we thought was going to be a couple of days. And then very quickly realized the devastation that Hurricane Katrina had left, and relocated here. My job in MAHEC was open, and I applied, and I have been here ever since.
And we're right on the anniversary of Helene.
Yes.
Just this weekend. So that I felt, just thinking about that time,
Yeah.
I can't believe it's been 20 years. And I'm sure anybody listening who's in Western North Carolina or knows our story is very aware in maybe ways that, I grew up in the Gulf Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're aware of what hurricane damage can be. And we're newly oriented to that
Exactly.
up here in the mountains. So yeah, you mentioned you're a certified nurse midwife, and I mentioned you on my humaning in a body care team. So that was our first when our paths crossed, as you were there. I came here actually and was quickly on bed rest.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting journey and to be in as a new mom. So I've appreciated for that amount of time. You've been in my life ever since then. So just the steady, calm, and wisdom, just what you've been and the support you've been for me.
Well, I can't
so
tell.
I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And I can't tell you what a full circle moment it was for me to listen to your first podcast interviewing Nash. And I don't know, there's been a couple of times over the past year where he's been on, I think, like Blue Ridge Public Radio. And I always feel like I had some small part in his success.
I helped him come into the world, literally. Oh my gosh, it's amazing how time flies and just the transitions and all that has happened since then. So your boys are a little older.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they're
than my kiddos.
Yeah, they're my oldest one is a junior at Western Carolina. He just started nursing school. Awesome. And then my youngest one is in his second year at NC State.
So two college kiddos.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are in the college application phase. And then Harper's still sophomore, which still feels crazy to me, but I can't I mean, and maybe we'll talk about it, but
Yeah.
my heart kind of it does weird blocking of reality, I think, to imagine that there will be a time where they're not in the house. So I'm not there
Exactly.
yet, and you are. And before we get it, I think we're going to talk a little bit more about some of that. Before we do, I'm curious. We are recording this after we've both been at work all day. So let's just honor the and that we're showing up in. What kind of and, as you sit here today, yeah, what kind of, how are you? What energy are you showing up with? How are you feeling about doing this?
Yeah. I'm excited and nervous, leaning
Okay.
in,
Yeah.
leaning into it. I have not done a podcast before, so
Awesome.
I'm happy always, like
I'm
I
just a
said.
few ahead.
Yeah. Well, and we always have good, rich
Yeah.
conversations, so I'm looking forward to that. Just trying to pretend that we are not sitting here with microphones and headphones
Yeah,
on
so
and
let's
that this
just
is just
pretend
a
it's
rich
another day.
conversation. Yeah. I'm showing up, I guess, my and today. So I do practice clinically as a nurse midwife, and I'm also chair of the Department of OBGYN. And so my day to day was not clinical. It was in
Oh,
an administrative leadership role. Well, I take that back. I started out the morning at the hospital, rounding on postpartum patients. And then I've interviewed a couple of prospective providers and had some meetings and talked logistics, met with our attorney. So
what a
this
range.
complexity, yeah, a lot of different things. I'm showing up in the end,
Yeah,
like,
in the
yeah.
and even just with that, to imagine the range, I often laugh as a small business, the range of things that we find ourselves doing in a day when there's only two of us. But I don't think I've thought before about the range when you're in
Mhm,
clinical leadership,
mhm,
the range from patient care to all the sort of
mhm,
standard business and leadership things that you find yourself in a day.
mhm.
Um, would be, yeah, I would think would be kind of interesting and exciting and a lot of, kind of mental and emotional shifting.
A lot of whiplash, like a
Yeah.
lot of, yeah, mental whiplash. As you know, like people that are good problem solvers, like I guess I'm a pretty good problem solver, can find solutions. And so, when you're good at solving problems, people bring you more problems.
Right.
So you end up with a lot of
Just the
problems to
paradox of
solve.
that.
Yeah. And it just so happens that the past week or two I've put out a lot of fires,
Yeah.
and the and that you stand in, like you're really good at being a problem solver or solution seeker. And also you don't have as much time or energy what you want to do that is strategic or
Mm,
generative or sort of fills your cup or feeds your soul are
yep.
necessary for continued growth and development, whether me as an individual, us as a department or organization,
Yeah.
a lot of things.
I see that a lot in teams, just kind of at scale even.
Hmm.
We get you're just in the work.
Hmm.
And so something you said about just having time to be strategic,
Hmm.
often as a strategy partner, so much of what I feel like the value of my involvement is just that we're going to block time.
Hmm.
Like, oh, Heather's coming. We now have half of a day. And it may just be if y'all just had half a day to be and think together, but blocking time is such a big piece of it. Um, I'll do my little and stand here too. How am I today? I'm curious. I'm curious where this conversation is going to go. I feel it is helpful. I think I'm a little less nervous each time, but I still get a little sweaty. So I'm a little sweaty. I'm curious. Um, I was a little crunchy, just to tell the real truth. I was a little crunchy this afternoon. I don't really know where that's coming from. Maybe we'll figure it out. Maybe it's related to our topic today.
And what do you mean by crunchy?
Um,
Salty?
it's a little salty.
Okay.
I don't know what is. I love that that's the answer. Like you're going to operationalize the definition of crunchy with saying salty. Well, what does salty mean?
I don't know, like a little prickly or a little,
Salty,
um,
prickly, frustrated,
mhm,
kind of
mhm.
grumpity.
Yeah, grumpity, that's a good
A
word.
little grumpity, probably a little short.
Mhm, mhm,
So that
mhm.
choose your own, all of those the same. And there is something about just acknowledging it and calling all of those funny words that makes it feel a little bit lighter, or at least just acknowledging it. I think half the battle there are a lot of years in my life that I would have just felt that way and rained it down upon everyone for the next 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like I'm at least at a place now where I kind of outside looking, like, I notice it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, "Oh, what is happening with you right now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe you need to walk around the building
Mm-hmm.
to get underneath that." So I think it's just interesting to see how that awareness changes over time. All right, let's get into it. So, um, do you wanna tee us up? The "and" that we wanna talk about today?
Um, sure. I mean, you ask where I am, and I really feel like a lot of where I'm standing in the inn. As mentioned, I'm an empty nester. I have 2 children who are
Mhm.
college age, and that is so bittersweet.
Oof.
Like, I really leaned in. I was all in parenting,
Yep.
supporting those boys any way that I needed to, emotionally, physically, getting them where they needed to be. I attended every ball game, every band concert, all of the things. And you are preparing them to leave the nest, to soar. And then they do. And it is like, holy cow, this is what this is the success. This is what I prepared for. And then
0 out
you're
of
like,
10. I'm
oh,
like, "Do not yuck."
yeah. It took us a little while to transition. And I am sure probably my sweet spouse, my person's going to listen to this podcast. So I'll try not to out him too much. But I will tell you, he struggled. Like everybody would
Yeah.
ask me, like, oh, when my first one left for college, how
Like,
do you
"How you
feel?
doing?"
Yeah, how you feel? My husband's a professor at Western Carolina. My oldest son is a student at Western Carolina. And my husband, it hit him so hard, and I laughed about it, and I would, poke fun a little bit at him because there were days that I find my iPhone, and they were half a mile apart on campus. But yet the struggle was real with here this kid is out on his own,
Huh.
even though they had such close proximity during the
Yeah.
day,
He's not that far away.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do
yeah,
think of it more as, like, they're going
yeah,
far away. So if it would feel
yeah,
different for him to
yeah.
what do you think and I don't know that I have the emotional bandwidth to ask this question, but I'm gonna try. What do you think the bittersweet what's the feeling? What do I need to prepare myself for?
Well, that's a good question. The emptiness of the house. Well, I will tell you, there is some beauty. So the sweet part,
It's
like Nash
quiet.
is gonna leave, and then you have time with your daughter.
Right.
My children were so closely spaced. They're only 14 months apart. So they have been a duo, a dynamic duo since my oldest was 14 months old. So I had a whole year with my younger son that he had never had before,
Right.
just one-on-one parenting. So that was the sweet part of that. And then when he left, yeah, it's the quiet.
Mm.
And my husband and I will say, and this would be my recommendation for you, we practiced a lot. Like we really got into a good habit. The year or so before they left, we were trying to be really intentional about date night with regularity.
Mm.
So we used to say, we're practicing for empty nest. We don't want to look at each other after the boys are gone and be
Like,
like,
who
who
are
are
you?
you?
Yeah.
Yeah, what happened? Or
Yeah.
have totally separate interests. And so that, I mean, we have always been close. I think we've grown even closer since the kids have been gone. And so there's the sweetness in that too. It was several weeks of adjustment and it was hard. And
Just
now
sad. Does it just feel sad that they're not there?
um
It feels like I'm imagining, and not to dress rehearse hard feelings, but sometimes it does help me. Like there is a grief. There is a because I feel it already. Let me say, I already feel the looking back. I mean, even just to looking back when they were kids, or these cherished times that I just want to freeze time and
mhm,
bottle.
mhm.
So I know that they'll just be this. Um, it's a transition. I wish I could remember the author, but I read a book one time that said transition is an interesting or a unique type of change where the first step involves a letting go. So not all
Yeah.
change is that way, right? So it's different, but
Mhm.
in transition, and it resonates with me. Like
Mhm.
when I think I'm in transition, that stage one, honoring that there is a letting go.
Mhm.
And it's to me, it's not just like the letting they're going, and we're excited about that. And it marks like I'm letting go of
Yeah.
mothering and just closeness,
Mhm.
and that day to day being and presence and joy in life. I mean, and they can always come back, but right, there is
Mhm.
something about that marker
Mhm.
to me that I imagine is going to feel a little bit like grief.
Yes, of course, I think it will. But that's interesting you say that because when you say that, what I hear or what I think about, what resonates with me, usually when we're in the transition, we don't know we're in the transition. Like,
Mm,
that could be the beauty of this empty nest is you know what marks it. You can prepare for it. Because oftentimes I think we're in transition and we realize halfway through, like, oh, this is different. This is like, it's not
interesting.
typically as discrete or time bound or, exactly to anticipate or what's coming until you're in it and you're looking back on it in retrospect, right? So it is, I will say it
That's
is, you
interesting.
can prepare. This is the one transition you are aware that is coming. You can try. I mean, I don't know if you can 100% prepare yourself, but you can, look forward to that. I will tell you, the sweet, sweet part of it too is my relationship with both of my children has changed. And it is even more glorious to have these adult children
Mm.
who call, not their mama, but they're calling. I mean, they call both my husband and I, to tell us about their day, to tell us like
Yeah.
it is not like they so much need us anymore. They're calling us because they want to communicate and engage and
Yeah.
be in relationship with us.
Mhm. Okay. So we'll exclamation point some of the sweet on the bitter. And it is interesting to think about how this talk about a transition that has some more markers, like some time stamps. I mean, and immediately, again, maybe because of our history, I think of pregnancy and right? Pregnancy and
Yeah.
childbirth, like you sort not exactly. Certainly my
Mhm.
timeline was not what we thought it was going to be. But that one you know more.
Mhm. But then,
What are
yes.
some other what are other types of transition? Maybe it's like I think about yeah,
Well, think about, I will say, with parenthood, you never know the
yeah,
last time you're going to pick your child up. Or sometimes maybe, like, the last time you're gonna nurse, like that, you're looking at it in retrospect and you're like, or you're so in it, like, you're so into
it's
weaning
true.
that you're not realizing until after the fact. So there's a lot of things that I think in retrospect, you're like, "Oh, I didn't know that was gonna be the last time we did this," or, "That was the last time I would pick you up," or, "That was the last."
But we know with this, like, this is the
Yes,
day
this
you
is
go to
coming.
college, so
Yes.
this is the last family dinner in this
Yeah,
model.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, it has
while
some precision.
yeah, talking about health and life cycles and transitions too. Like we talk about it, perimenopause, menopause, that sort of
Mist
transition.
is the great mystery in my life right now. Have not I don't know what there is to figure out, but yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, speaking of just no clarity,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
no
exactly.
straightforward.
No clarity and exacerbated mental fog more than
Yeah,
anything, right?
perfect. No clarity at a time where clarity is really hard to find.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think too, my parents are aging. My
Mm,
dad, last year had quintuple bypass. He's never had a cardiac history. It came out of nowhere and, has had some increasingly, his health journey since then has been on a decline. He's had some increasing frailty. And so I'm also in this transition about the sandwich generation.
mm,
I've taken
mm.
care of my children and I'm not quite completely there yet. My mom is still very active and involved and takes my dad to his appointments and that sort of thing, but I'm starting to help navigate some of their healthcare, needs, services, that sort of thing.
Which feels like a new role
Yes,
that
totally.
is back in the camp of not clear and
Mhm.
defined. one of
Mhm.
those transitions that you don't really know you're in
Yeah,
until you're
in the thick of it.
in the thick of it. So I mean, you say sandwich generation. So we're sandwiched between kids are off and we're still involved at some level.
Mhm.
And we're paying attention to parent well-being in a different
Mhm.
way.
Mhm.
That's a significant, somehow gradual yet feels
Yeah.
sometimes sudden, this shift of roles.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
actually across both of
Yeah.
those. And I wonder, I mean, if it's roles, if it's identity, when you think about what is changing, because with our kids, I mean, I'm still your mom, but what that means is different now.
Mhm.
And with aging parents, I'm still your daughter, and what that means looks different now. So it's this really interesting uncertainty and kind of rebuilding. And I keep coming back. I mean, I felt the same way becoming a mom for the first time. Is like, oh, I'm a mom now. What does that mean? What does that look
We
like?
did not send you home with an instruction book, right?
Well, not even, I mean, probably a good one about how to care for myself and baby.
Mhm.
But this sort of how do I integrate this reality
Mhm.
into the broader stained glass window
Mhm.
that is me?
Mhm.
Especially when it's like, well, that's going to take up like half the glass, is
Mhm.
this new thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
I really like the metaphor of stained glass because I feel like life sometimes like shatters it and we're like, how do I put it back together again? And what
Mhm.
pieces do I leave behind? And which ones am I going to keep? Or what does it all look like now?
Mhm.
So it just strikes me that both of these things that you're navigating, I don't even know what to call them, if they're transitions or just realities of kind of the age that we um, are this sort of self reintegration, because they're not like this is true for a day.
Right.
This is these are chapters,
Mhm.
and so it what calls to me is not just like how do I navigate these things that are true in my life, but it starts to tap into me of who am I in this.
That's an incredible point. I will tell you where my default lies, and this is not a good thing.
Oh, noted. No judgment.
I am one of those people that is aspirational and have a goal,
Mm,
and I can easily become consumed with achieving or reaching that end goal and not relishing or enjoying or being intentional and thoughtful in the journey along the way.
mm.
Like, I'm spending so much time, um, I laugh with my husband, it was I laugh sometimes, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I was so consumed with planning the wedding
Ah,
that I don't know if I thought about what the marriage would be."
oh, sure.
You
I
know?
think that's just how we do it for whatever reason.
Yeah, and I think there's other times in my life, whether it be a career change or a, change in role or leadership, like that, okay, here's the goal or here's the aspiration, what can I do to achieve that? And then spending all that time toward that goal, and then have I missed things along the way? Those are valuable lessons that I could have learned if I'd been more intentional in the moment.
I'm curious what it feels like, and we're going to take the bread of the sandwich and think about kids who are out of the house now
Uh-huh.
and parents. We say who are aging, which we're all aging, but we understand what we mean there. And then you say you have a goal and aspiration.
Uh-huh.
In this context, is this like you have a goal and an aspiration for your kiddos and for your parents? Like, how does that? I'm somebody who has a goal and aspiration. When I think about how do we sort of integrate our identity in this? If you are identifying as I am somebody with a goal, how does that show up in the sandwich?
That's a good question, Heather. I know I'd have to think about that. I would say, I mean, my primary response to that would be, um, I feel pretty self-actualized. I feel like there's not much more
Hmm.
I need to do or accomplish. Like, my biggest thing right now is I wanna be present in the moment.
Mm.
and make sure that, um, I don't know, um, I'm looking forward to the days where I can slow down and be still and listen maybe, where I can be in the garden or, you know, taking a fiber arts or a pottery class or, doing all the things that can support, myself
Yeah.
and my wholeness and well-being, as well as both my parents and my children.
And as far as where you are now in it, we brought this kind of sandwich as part of the and that you're standing in. Often in the and, there's squeeze
Mhm.
and tension. Um, does it feel squeezy and tension? We've talked about kids leaving as feeling bittersweet. Like that's an and of its own that we talked
Mhm.
about. But
Mhm.
just the holding of, I don't even know what the holding of. I don't know what we're holding. Are we
Mhm.
holding tasks? Are we holding um, care? Like from an energy perspective, what's the squeeze in the and, do you think, if there is one there,
Yeah,
tension?
there's definitely a squeeze. There's tension, and I don't know if I can articulate it, but I can give you an example.
Yeah, sure.
Um, so a few weeks ago, actually Labor Day weekend, my parents, have a lake house, and they had gone to the lake for the long Labor Day weekend, and my family, we were going to join them. I was going out first, then my husband, my kids were coming out. They have like a little compound. We were gonna be there. And on the Saturday, my parents were already there, and it was sort of a big deal. The last time they were there, they had been at the house. My dad had a fall, and it ended up in the emergency room, and it was a pretty significant fall. Um, and so this was their second trip back. I think they had a little bit of anxiety about being back out there. They were there by themselves. I was hurrying, trying to get out the door. I was gonna go meet them. I was trying to get the dog loaded into the car. I was gonna stop by my mom's and water her plants. Like, I had this to-do list,
To
like this.
all the list.
Yeah, the list, the task list. I remember I was pulling the car out of the garage. My 100-pound Weimaraner jumps into the front seat, and, of course, she doesn't have a seatbelt on, so the car starts ding, ding, the seatbelt alarm. I feel hyperstimulated. And at that time, my mother calls, and she's got a quandary, and it was something simple. It was something
Right.
easy, but she couldn't make a decision. And this is a woman who had worked in business, um, made quick decisions, like, her executive functioning has always been high, but as she's become my dad's primary caregiver, the stress, I think, and the strain, she depends on me more. And so I'm doing all these things. I have all these tasks. The car's dinging. I'm hyperstimulated. And I remember sort of being short with her and saying, I'm like backing out of the garage trying to look into traffic. And I say to her, okay, we are not going to solve this quandary in the next 3 minutes. Let me hang up. I'm going to call you back. Let me get myself situated. Let me get the dog back in the back seat. Let me call you in just a minute. And I sort of took that time to decompress, did a couple of things, checked a couple of things off my list before I went out of town. And before I called my mom back, I called my husband and I was like sort of lamenting because I realized I was short with her. I was feeling the squeeze, it was the stretch. In my regular role, everyday work, I have to make hundreds of split decisions. I have to solve other people's problems. I have to have all the answers. And I mean, I didn't realize it, but I was just annoyed. Like, this is just one more thing on a Saturday morning that I have to do. And then I felt guilty.
Of course.
I thought that, then I felt guilty. Um, I talked it through with my husband. I was like, this is just where I am. This is where they are. And I've got to be supportive of them. And that's my goal. I want to be able to do that. I've got to check myself. I need you to check me too when you realize, like, oh, I'm responding in a way that, if I'm hyperstimulated, if I'm, quick or crunchy, is that what you say? Crunchy? If I'm
Crunchy.
crunchy with them. And so then I was able to call my mom and we talked through it and how I helped her with her decision making, but it was it had to be a sort of a pause. I had to hit the pause.
Yeah, get that pause button out, man.
And then I don't know, it was a sort of an aha moment for me. I have a peer who has aging parents also, and they gave me a good piece of advice, and it resonated with me that day. They said they were caregivers for their parents, and they realized when they were becoming increasingly short with their parents, typically what that indicated, it was a signal light for, um, a heightened level of need for either additional care for their parents, or maybe they need to go the next level, or
Mm.
sort of like the hazard light, the red indicator, like, okay, this is different and this is signaling a transition to a higher level of acuity or care or something that's needed.
And sometimes, I mean, as I hear you, I think it probably everybody listening can relate to this feeling of I'm trying to load the car and I'm trying to do this and then the cat runs away and then UPS got like the things that just feel overwhelming in the moment. The way you described it as that phone call that kind of tipped it for you, I wrote down decision fatigue. Like
Mhm,
at a certain point, I think of it like like a dirty sponge on the bottom of the sink, like
mhm,
cannot hold anything else.
mhm. It's saturated.
So saturated, cannot compute. So the thoughtfulness that you had to pause it and, what I say, like wring the sponge out.
Mhm,
And that was, a sort of real time acute. How do we manage it when it happens,
mhm,
when there's just too many things?
mhm,
To be aware of like, yeah, I mean, and that's sort of how to manage. I don't know if it's overwhelm because I really, as somebody who's very sensory sensitive, I
mhm,
appreciate two of your description there that I think is just important to put a pin in of I was overstimulated.
mhm,
I think so often when I end up being crunchy or short or something else, like it is from a place where I am just a saturated sponge of stimulation. And it
mhm,
can be from a number of things,
mhm,
right? I get overstimulated from noise and if I have an itchy shirt, all right, it's like my
right.
shirt was itchy and I just like that filled the cup up and I didn't have a lot left. But then you layer the decisions. I think we can get overstimulated by layers of things
Mhm,
or, um, yeah, just the stimulation maybe that comes from making countless decisions on a daily basis. And then somebody says, what do you want for dinner? And you lose your mind.
mhm.
Like you lose your mind. Like I cannot make one more damn decision about
Yeah.
anything, and then I'm mad at you for even asking me, and why am I the one that you're asking? So, I mean, kudos for having the mindfulness to know you needed to pause in the moment because sometimes certainly that doesn't happen. Um, yeah, and just, I mean, I guess this place of as our parents, as we're brought into that, it's another bucket of decisions
Mhm,
that you realize, oh, I'm now going to be part of decision making here.
mhm, mhm,
It's not only right, that's what feels like it's the sandwich, and maybe part of what we're holding in this sort of midlife sandwich
mhm,
is a real range of decisions
mhm,
because kids are out and probably still engaging, right? Then
mhm.
there's the whole, "What am I doing in the day?" And even maybe decisions about, "Who am I now? Is now the time to sign up for this pottery class?" And you're like, "Well, I thought so, but now I have all these other decisions to make." So it's a lot of and that mainly sounds like mental energy to me, but I also appreciated the way you were like, I did this and then I felt guilty, right?
Mhm,
So often
mhm,
there's the initial thought or feeling,
mhm,
and then we have feelings about our feelings.
mhm,
And so that just, to me, adds to the I can get very overwhelmed from there, right? Not even about, maybe it's like the original set of things, but then when I stack it
yeah.
with, when Nash was little, I called this adding suck to the suck sandwich. Like, you have the original thing, and then you're just piling on additional things when you add all those emotions and feelings. Something came up for you, though, there.
Well, it was funny you said that because, yeah, you have the feelings, and I am not the person or the type that can let it go. Like, I'm not the person that's like, I'm gonna grovel in and feel bad that I had the feelings,
Mm,
right? You know what I mean? I'm gonna even even if it even if it's not justified, I'm going to have feelings about my feelings. And the decision fatigue for me a lot of times shows up, I guess it shows up almost as physical. I mean, I think it's emotional exhaustion,
Yeah.
but sometimes physical exhaustion.
Yeah.
And so there are times where I need to like turn off all things, TV or anything otherwise. Or there's sometimes where I want to do something where I feel like, oh, I'm just so tired. Maybe if I could do something sort of mindless as a distractor. And if we turn the TV on and it's the news, sometimes that's even worse. Like I have to turn that off,
Yeah.
that I can't engage in that. Just all the things that are happening in the world today. And
Well, I mean, I think it's this question of whether it's however we talk about overstimulated or decision fatigue, this notion of saturated sponge.
mhm, mhm,
And then the tool there being, what do I need?
mhm.
So if we can get past the place of judgment, because I think if we feel like a saturated sponge and then we're shooting on ourselves about how we should
Right.
feel, or I'm a terrible, shame creeps in, I'm a terrible person for feeling this way and whatever else. If we can just sit with, I am a saturated sponge, what do I know that I need to wring that out?
Mhm,
I think you
mhm,
just mentioned it's true for me too. That usually means I need nothingness. Like
mhm,
no people.
mhm,
If that's I need to lay on the ground under a weighted blanket,
mhm,
if that's I need to go for a walk. Sometimes it's physical for me and sometimes it's not,
mhm.
but it's definitely not more inputs. And what's hard about that is because I can get kind of overstimulated in one context and then move to another one where they haven't seen me all day.
Right.
And we're ready to have a whole experience. And I'm like, I got to wring the sponge out from this before I can fully.
Engage in this, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned back earlier on is just you're talking about it with work, but this sort of finding the time.
Mhm,
If we're in problem solving all the time, which
mhm.
gets us to decision fatigue, which gets us into the sponge is saturated, where do we wring the sponge out? Like it's a different kind of pause. Um, but I think it's such an important part. And a lot of this kind of falls in, I think, language these days around like self care and whatever else. I guess what matters the most to me as I think about it is that it really is something that feels helpful. And if I'm wringing the sponge out, it needs to be something that actually is wringing it out in the moment and may still feel that way tomorrow
Yes.
versus things where you're like, you know what? We'll fix this sponge, some Chardonnay, and a couple hours of Instagram
Right, right.
and
Or some
whatever.
emotional eating. Yeah.
Right. But to be like, maybe that distracts me from it. But
Mhm.
in my experience, it doesn't wring the
Right.
sponge out. So I'm not saying any of those things, aren't supportive in some way. But what I've learned about me is I need to make sure that I'm doing
Mhm,
those resets. And sometimes, I mean, truly for me, we're talking about your example was again like an acute. I'm in the car right now.
mhm,
I have found this same saturated sponge feeling kind of about in bigger ways that require bigger wringing out.
mhm.
Like, and so now I mean, I go on silent retreat by myself a couple times a year.
Oh, that's amazing.
And part of it, I think, is this sort of I need to get real quiet in a deeper way to sort of zoom out and ask questions about the whole thing and what's working and what is right. Not that
Mhm,
you just can't do that
mhm,
in the day to day. So I think it's to me, the wring out of the sponge, at least as far as my toolkit right now, is both a almost daily practice
mhm,
or weekly practice of what do I need, and it's has some longer term sort of
mhm,
preventive.
mhm,
Can I get a few days, and then some more days? And it's
mhm.
tricky because I mean, you said guilt a minute ago, like especially if you recharge by yourself. I think we feel guilty for not paying
Right.
attention to the range of people who
Mhm.
we want to care for.
Right, right. Who need us or we want to need us. Yeah, yeah. Um, I love your silent retreat. Is that facilitated by someone? Like, is it a formal or
No, it's me by
do you
myself.
go in it with like prompts or questions that you want to consider?
Sometimes, usually, I have some loose sense of what I want to ponder.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, sometimes I'm doing work, even taking work stuff of like, oh, let's think about our strategy
Right.
priorities for next year. Or let me think about, I have 3 new ideas. Do we actually want to do any of them? Sometimes I know I want a book that I want to read.
Mhm.
So it has some loose intentions, or
Mhm.
sometimes I write on retreat. But the most probably consistent and rewarding thing is that I just do what I want when I want. I mean, it's bizarre things of like eating when I want to, going to sleep and
Mhm.
waking up when I want to, that sort of just kind of letting
Mm.
myself surrender to the non-schedule.
Yes.
Because so much of I mean, I don't know if it's decision fatigue, but just the pace of life right
Yes.
now of at 7:15 this happens, at 7:30 this happens, and like the constant time ticker
Mhm.
of it all,
Mhm.
I just have to get away
Mhm.
from.
I saw a social media meme, probably on Instagram, probably doom
Probably
scrolling,
when you're
like
spending 2
distracted.
hours not
Yeah,
wringing your
yeah,
sponge
trying
out.
to, yeah. Um, but it talked about women of our generation and their mothers. I know your mother, so
Yeah.
highly productive,
Yep.
and how we have a hard time. Like, we feel
With
guilt
downtime.
for downtime.
Yep.
Like, even our downtime has to be productive or multitasking. And I had a conversation with my mom just this weekend, and I was asking, "Okay, what are you doing today? What are you?" And she said, "Well, we were watching a ball game and, like a college football game, but she couldn't just watch the college football game. So she also needed to be working a puzzle." She had a whole bunch of busy work that she was doing because it wasn't enough that she could sit there and watch that game. And same for me. Like, I'm not the person that goes on vacation and sits at the beach. Like, we're somebody that we're going to a national park and we're going to do, an
Because you
8 mile
like
hike.
because
Because we
you
do.
like
Yes, we
that, or because
do.
you feel like you're telling yourself a story about what just, because it feels different. If you're like, "I don't wanna just sit there because that feels boring to me," feels different than a really what my deepest desire is just to sit with my feet in the sand for 5 hours.
Um, I don't feel that way ever. But
Like,
but I don't know, is it just so ingrained? Like, we are active. We're getting ready, my husband and I, this is our 25th wedding anniversary, and we were trying to figure out what kind of trip we were gonna take, how are we gonna celebrate, and it was not, "Let's go to Bali and"
chill.
yeah, and have spa days. It's like, "Let's go hike Cinque Terre." It's that active, like,
I highly recommend it.
"Oh, well, that's what we're gonna do." It's exciting.
Yeah, I feel like
But is that so ingrained in my psyche? Is that
well, let's
why?
tease that apart because I think this is helpful. So, I think, let's see, maybe I wanna zoom out to say, where do we get energy? Because that's what we're really managing. It's not time, we're managing our energy.
Mhm. Connection for me personally, like, it is personal connection, whether it be with my kids, my
Yeah.
spouse, like those that I am the closest.
So sometimes this sorta how do we feel rejuvenated
Mhm.
from a "I'm overwhelmed" might be that I need to wring my sponge out and I need nothingness, and sometimes it's I need connect, right? So it's,
Mhm.
maybe we're tangling different things together, but I think it's worth interrogating this, or even just figuring out, because I don't struggle with this as much as I used to. This sort of, um, guilt about sitting on the couch if I wanted to.
Mhm.
And my challenge is more, there's just a lot of stuff I want to do.
Mhm.
I actually want to be tinkering in the garage about something or painting something. So it's not about I should be busy. It's a legitimate desire to be creative and play.
Mhm.
And I think I mean, it takes, just kind of that self journey to figure out, because I too, I think culturally come from a like, what are you doing this week? Right? It's a doing.
Right.
Right. What'd you do today? What are you doing this weekend?
Mhm.
I mean, life is so much about being, but how do you ask about that, I guess? So yeah, I mean, certainly rest. I mean, there's great work out there right now, and rest, almost like rest is resistance.
Yes.
as
Yes.
birthright. Like we don't have to earn rest.
The right to be
Yeah,
able to rest.
right.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way about play and joy. And so to me, that's when I think about vacations. I think it just depends on what you need. The question for us all is, what do I want?
Yes.
What do I want? And sometimes I can't tell. And I say, if no one would be disappointed or judge you, what do you want?
Hmm.
And it gets me to a different place.
Yeah. That's a good question.
Or what do I want? Sometimes if I can't make a decision or, what are we going to do? What do I actually want? I'm like, if no one would be disappointed and no one would judge me, if I can kind of if I can liberate those voices and then like, what do I want? And sometimes like, I really just want to be home this weekend in my house and not do a single other thing. And I don't want to be anywhere at a certain time, even if it's for something lovely.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be liberated from the calendar
Mm-hmm.
for 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I want everyone to eat whatever they want from the pantry and not ask me about it. So, maybe in all of this, when we think about the tension in this sandwich, where there are a lot of needs, there are a lot of problems that can be solved, there are a lot of decisions to make. It's like, how do we keep on the list somewhere? What do I want?
That's a good question. And I'm struggling with it. I'm
know.
not doing a very good job with that. I think we have to keep mental inventory.
Yeah.
Lots of self check in, right? Being thoughtful and intentional and really thinking about what I want. How can I achieve? And I think that's a great prompt. Like if nobody was going to be disappointed or if there was no implication or no stake.
Well, because it helps take that whatever our particular flavor of stuff is, the people pleasing or perfectionism or identity around caregiving and these things. I think our own wants and needs can get so lost in that. And I'm such an advocate for. I think especially, I work in an industry, kind of across helping professions, and so often people that help people are just helpers everywhere, right? We are caregivers, period.
And probably don't do as good a job helping themselves, right? Is that a common theme you see?
Well, I'm saying, like so much in any session I'm in anymore when I'm facilitating the beginning is we are humans, not robots. And so I started by reminding us that just because we help people for a living doesn't mean we opt out on peopling.
Mm-hmm.
We are humans too. And so what does that mean? What does that look like? How do we honor that? And it's just, I think it's such an important piece because we can get, and I don't even want to, so often I think when we enter this conversation about we are part of the ecosystem, it's more I got to put my oxygen mask on before I help you.
Right.
Which we know is true and is still hard to figure out. What I want to add to that is like, you get to do you because you are also having a whole human experience and a whole life. Even if you laying in the grass for an afternoon doesn't make you any better or different so you can go help somebody else. It just brings you joy and you get to feel joy because you're a person on the planet right now who deserves joy like everybody else.
Right.
It's like, just because. Not because in service to everybody else, but just because.
Just because. Yeah.
So that's my curiosity for as you're reminding us about the various caregiving roles that we have is, right. Part of the overwhelm and all of that is how I wonder how it shifts when we're tending to us also.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard because sometimes I can get in the place where I'm like, tending to me feels like one more damn thing on the list. Right? Like, and now I got to go for a walk and now I'm going to put on my weighted vest so that I have strong joints in menopause or whatever it is. So back to the things of like not the shoulds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what do I actually really need. And it's to me, and people, I think we can add a lot of story to that of, oh, that's selfish or that's whatever. I'm like, it's just, I don't even know. To me, it's just living, and you get to do that too.
Mm-hmm.
I've forgotten about this, but I used to all the time say, um, you are the CEO of your life, and there's only one candidate for the job.
Oh,
How's it going?
yeah.
Like, what's your strategic plan looking like? Right?
Yeah.
For all the roles that we have that we different, sometimes
Mhm.
are just ours and sometimes we share, but there is only one CEO of my life experience. How do I make sure I'm tending to that leadership responsibility?
Right, right, right. Yeah, and it is a thoughtful pursuit of where we are, maybe where we've been,
Mm.
what served us well, how we show up for ourselves and for other people, and where does that matter and where does it not?
And Dolly, as I hear us talking about this, I'm like, oh, I could see where it feels overwhelming to even investigate our lives at this level. That's where I'm like, carve out an hour
Mhm.
to just sit down and ask you. I mean, because that's part of it. I mean, you just listed it. It takes some real thoughtfulness. And when the to-do list is holding approximately 4,000 billion things, it's hard to go, I'm going to sit here and ponder how all this is working for me.
Mhm.
And I don't know how we do it without that pause,
Yeah.
because it just like it feeds
Mhm.
the momentum of it feeds itself. And I think sometimes like it feels beyond our reach to pause it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. You know, sometimes like the work email. Like you
Mhm.
go, I've been in meetings all day. I go check my inbox and there are now 200 emails that have
Yep.
accumulated in my box. And some of them I can easily, clear out, without too much energy or thought, it's just that clutter in your inbox. And then there are some things that I'm kind of a slow processor. So
Yeah.
I know I need some time to think and I hit the pause before I respond. There's some emails that demand a
Right.
response right then and there, but right? And then there's some that I have to be super thoughtful about it. And you know what happens often? While in the process,
It sorts
in the
itself
pause,
out.
it sorts itself out. And I'm having increasing realization that that happens more if I could just let it and,
Mm,
not be driven by my own internal tempo. You know what I mean?
that feels really important, what you just said. Because what it says to me is whatever it was in the email didn't have to be mine.
Mhm. Exactly. Yeah.
So that I just feel like that's an interesting curiosity across the lists
Mhm.
is, when are we making all the things ours and they don't actually need to be? Um, right? If the action I'm gonna take is not taking action,
Mhm.
and to see if in a couple days that sorts itself out
Mhm.
versus this,
Yeah.
a problem solver, a hammer and a nail, I'm gonna
Mhm.
hammer.
Mhm.
What if we just put the hammer back in the
Mhm. Mhm.
It's an interesting, yeah, like that pause button in real time.
Right.
And that's not how you intended it. You didn't say, "I'm gonna pause and see if this sorts itself out." It's
Yeah.
like, "I'm gonna pause and think about it." Just in the meantime, it sorted itself out, and it just feels
Yes.
like it reveals something interesting. So another place, I think, to get curious, so much of what we talk about on this podcast is staying curious. Because I think in the end, in all this complexity, it's just such an important sort of meta tool is curiosity.
Mhm.
And when I think about kind of themes across the conversation that we've had, this, curiosity around what is really rejuvenating for me.
Mhm.
Where can I find what is curiosity around what do I really want? What do I need?
Mhm.
What problems really need me for real? Not just because
Mhm.
I need a problem to solve because I'm a problem
Mhm.
solver.
Yeah. Well, and I've learned in my leadership role, like, it only behooves me and my team. I could solve the problem,
Right.
but it only behooves me to engage others
Yeah.
to to work through it together, like, you have
Which
these
is harder
investing
than it
key
sounds like it should
stakeholders.
be
Yeah.
to step back
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
let things
Mhm.
play out.
Yeah. Well, I think when you're dealing with any relationship, but coworkers, especially when you're in a field that is a field that serves, a field of helpers, and um, but it is essential, to have a team who's invested and engaged with you
Mhm.
and feels like we are serving the common purpose, right? That we have a shared mental model or we have some shared goals and vision, at work with our organization for sure, right? We all bring our own strengths. We aren't the same, right? And so for me, it's always checking and being like, how am I showing up? What can I do to build or elevate others? Especially, I'm in a field that
Mm.
is predominantly women, right? So, what can I do to elevate my colleagues, my female colleagues, especially, Um, so yeah, I am curious. I'm constantly curious. And this role, I've been in this leadership role about 18 months and it's, I'm still leaning in,
Yeah,
there's
I
hard,
mean, I
always
think it's an
learning.
always, like the journey of humaning. I think leadership is an always sort of place. Something you just said, I know we got to wrap this up. It's an hour goes by so fast. Um, so we were talking about leaning into like building a team. What can
Mhm,
other people do? It just like struck. Maybe I needed to hear this today. When I feel saturated, like overwhelmed, there's too much. Instead of doing the pause, step back, let others, my default is grab it, grab hold of the task. So I get, I won't say micromanagey,
mhm.
but I'm tempted to like get in there as if I'm going to try to solve it faster. You said something a minute ago out the pace. In overwhelm, this,
Mhm.
I think some script software in my body thinks if we just dial the pace up on this, we can get a handle on it, right? I'm overwhelmed. There's too many
Mhm.
things on the list. If we just get at it faster,
And get it done.
then I can crank through it. And that's fine if it's me cranking through my list, but I can find myself wanting to like get into
Everybody
things.
else's list?
Yes,
Yes. Micromanaging other people's lists?
correct.
Yes. Yes.
Or it just adds to it because then they probably don't want me in their list. And then it gets frustrating. And then I'm just fueling the frustrated instead of like, oh, I'm overwhelmed. Let me go wring my sponge out.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, I'm overwhelmed. Let me get
Like,
up in
one more
everybody else's
else thing.
business.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you feel like for me, like I'm in a profession, you probably are too. I mean, not, and I don't mean so much clinically, but in my leadership administrative role, the list is always growing. Like the
Oh,
list
you
is
can't.
never
Correct.
clear. Like it's never,
Correct.
it's not like you're going to get everything done. So, or it's not like it's not like I leave my work at 6 o'clock and I've turned my brain off. I
Right.
am having all of those. I'm either ruminating or I'm
Yeah.
having a light bulb moment either at 4 a.m. when I'm wide awake with my perimenopausal hormones
Right.
or in the shower.
Yeah.
I'm having a brilliant idea. And that's hard too. Like you're at a state of maybe not hyperactivity, but your brain is
It's
always
constant.
in
Yeah.
constant motion.
Yes. So the question was like, is there always a list? And I do think there is this tendency of, oh, if we can just do more, we're going to get the list checked off. So I think there's an acute and a chronic version of this. Chronic version is there's always something to do, right? Rarely are
Right.
you going to leave and be like, I have done all the things possible to do when it comes to helping humans flourish today. Um, but even when it's like, we have a few things that really need to get, like client deadlines, stuff that needs to happen tomorrow. My I guess what it is, and I think I might have talked about this on the podcast, maybe with Ashley before, is I think I'm so eager to resolve the energy in me. And I think getting the stuff done is going to resolve it. So I'm just ready to get it done instead of, which sometimes isn't me. It's not my stuff to do sometimes. So I need to give space for it to get done and trust that we will get there. I think my push in overwhelm is because I'm trying to resolve my own energy. And what this conversation is reminding me is pause, wring your sponge out, and then come back at it. Because that can resolve. It's about there's too much in me. I'm let's go with overstimulated. That feels true. I'm overstimulated either by the like concern we're not going to get it done, or there's too many things on the list and I'm with all of that instead of pushing hard into it. Can I wring my sponge out and support myself and kind of honor that and do some things before I spread that, shake my sponge out on the people around me? I feel like I did it today.
Yeah. Did you shook your sponge out like you sprinkled
on other people?
Oh, good. Okay.
And then felt frustrated about it.
So I talked to you, I'll bring it up here now. My college student who's in nursing school, I asked him a few weeks ago, I was like, oh, are you overwhelmed? All the things. And he's like, no, I'm just in a constant state of whelm. And so I have adopted that. I'll give him credit where credit is due. I'm in a constant state of whelm. But I will tell you what has happened for me the past few weeks. Not necessarily work related, but in life, like just some personal circumstances. My father-in-law got acutely ill and passed away within he had a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer and passed away within a month. And my youngest son was involved in a traumatic accident, whitewater kayaking, and a lot of things.
Oh, Dolly.
And people would look at me and ask, just like we do to people, how are you? And normally I would choke a smile and, I'm fine. Everything's fine. I'm great.
I'm fine. We're fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah. And then for the past few weeks, I was like, I found myself being quick to be like, well, since you asked, these are the things, and it has been a little bit cathartic, I think.
I wish we could, and it takes 2 minutes more to really answer the question. But even if it's the and, like, here's the and I'm standing in to go, I'm okay. And it's been a really hard time.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I push us every time. Like, whatever the answer to how are you that's not fine or good, like, for real. And you can tell who's really curious about that and who's basically finding new words to say good morning.
Like being polite, yes.
Yeah, or just like, it's just we kind of get in a habit of, oh, hey, how are you doing? And it's more like saying hello. But for the people, you've been one of those people for me. You remember that day, I'm sure, where I came in your office for a regular visit and you're like, how are you? And I just started bursting out crying, I think, because I could tell that you really cared. And I wasn't okay. For all the reasons that we've talked about. I was a fully saturated sponge and did not feel like I could wring it out.
Right.
I think especially when kids are little, you're like, it's an intense time with the always of it. I think about that even with teenagers. I'm like, how did we do it?
Yeah.
When they're real little like that, right? You got to feed them. They can't drive.
They hung on you like
all the time. They were like
a
attached.
barnacle. Yeah.
Yes. So when I think about overwhelm now, I think maybe we're just so tired that it doesn't, that memories of the early days don't compute. So anybody out there with like littles, high five to you. And it does shift. You do get some breath because it's just so much harder when there's that level.
Oh my gosh.
Of reliance.
It gets so much better.
Or people, or caregiving, right? Some folks who are really doing intense caregiving. And their supports. I mean, I hope like even in those situations, whatever you can do to partner with a friend or find respite care or services somewhere, to help you take a breath,
Mhm.
because it's so hard to navigate all the things when you feel like you're over. I guess whelmed for me, I'm gonna think is like head above water.
Yeah.
Like I'm in it, but I'm
You're sustained
managing it.
afloat. You're afloat. You may, a good wave
Yeah, it
may force you
feels
into
a little
overwhelm.
scary, right? It feels
Mhm.
a little scary because it feels fragile.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, maybe it's like, what's the life jacket that you can put on in
Mhm.
overwhelm to at least
Yeah.
lift us?
Be buoyant.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
buoyancy.
Yeah. Well, I think probably the biggest thing is the self-awareness to know where you are, because I think some people don't even have that, and that's where they find themselves either
Yeah.
having a breakdown or having a break, or, maybe unhealthy behaviors like
Yeah.
alcohol or substance, or.
Yeah, and I guess I just having been I feel like I'm back in that plastic chair crying in your office where yeah, just the supportive person that
Mhm.
can tell that I needed that question. So I
Mhm.
think we can be that for each other too. So as much as we're talking about sort of self,
Mhm.
there's a communal
Right.
answer to this too. There's right, like what can we do in our workplaces and our friend
Mhm.
groups and our families? Like it's okay to be okay and it's okay not to be okay.
Mhm.
How do I say that? How do I say, you know what? I know it's my night to cook dinner and I'm barely teetering with whelmed
Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
really just need us to do peanut butter and jelly and call it
Yeah.
a day.
Yeah.
So how do we build honesty about what
Mhm.
we're experiencing? And then find supportive people. So
Yeah.
you're certainly a supportive person. I don't see you often. I think that encounter led me to my first therapy appointment, then to coaching and therapy again. Like it's very helpful for me to have
Mhm.
somebody that I can talk to about these
Mhm.
things. My current therapist is a somatic therapist, so it brings the body into it
Mhm.
too. We don't have to do this alone.
Right.
I think so much of my wish for this podcast is that people feel seen
Mhm.
in the
Mhm.
experience. So often I think we think it's us and we're broken or effing it
Mhm.
up in some way to be
Mhm.
like, we're not alone. Humaning is messy, especially when we're kind of a caregiving heart. How do we tend to ourselves?
Mhm.
And there are people that want to support you in that. Um, there are, guided retreats, other things, and
Mhm.
sometimes it's a quick fix, and sometimes it's a rearrangement of the structure.
Mhm. I wonder too if practicing active listening and modeling that behavior for others
Mm.
could also foster or hone that skill for yourself.
Hmm.
Like if you have a person, or if you are intentional about active listening, asking people how they are, like you really mean it, and have the emotional intelligence to sort of pick up when, oh,
Yeah.
like you were great at it. You can see by the look on my face or
Yep.
something I say when I'm like, "Ooh, that meant something
Hmm.
for you." Not everybody has that gift
Yeah.
for sure. But I think if we practice that sort of, I wonder if we practice that in a way that we receive that reward also.
As in, if I practice doing it for others, can I then have the tools to do it for myself?
Mhm,
Can I
mhm,
sit down quietly with myself and say, Heather, how are you?
mhm. Or
Really?
yes, that, and also if you have a person, if you did it for Ashley, like, do you foster that behavior? Like, do you both benefit from
I
it?
see. Like the reciprocity of it.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, I think
I think it's both and.
as it always is. It's always and y'all. I want it not to be, but so often. Both the challenge and the solution has an and element.
Right.
I think we've talked about, I'm reminded today in this conversation as we wrap up about the importance of the pause in all of this. And gosh, just the permission. Like, I want to pass out those pause. If I could afford it, I would just give everybody on the planet one and be like, for real,
Yeah.
you have permission
to pause.
Mhm.
And it so often does not feel that way. But in my experience, one of the things that we haven't debriefed this, but you and I were actually supposed to have this podcast some time ago.
Mhm.
And I was feeling overwhelmed.
Mhm.
I think it was even the day of recording or maybe the day
Yeah,
before.
yeah, I think so.
And I said, listen, I just have too many things
Mhm.
and I need to press the pause button on this and let's find another day if that's okay, if we can reschedule it. Every time step one, I notice. Step two is I cancel something.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what it is. It could be I move a client, a one-on-one client
Mhm.
meeting I move. It could be I'm not doing this family obligation. I'm not. One thing usually shifts the momentum for me to say, I do have some agency over this.
Okay. So you don't even have to clear your own calendar. It could be you're shifting
One
thing.
little thing helps me because what sends me into overwhelm often is there are too many things.
Right.
I look at my calendar and I'm like, thank you, prior version of myself who thought a lot of me, and there's no way. And I think what it means is there's no way with the sponge that I'm holding.
Mhm.
Right? I booked all that stuff. I had a different sponge.
Mhm.
Today, I'm saturated at this level and I get panicky because I feel like there is no way I can get all this done. And that, right, cue whatever, but I try to pause all the feelings about the
Mhm.
thing
Mhm.
and recognizing that I feel that way, changing one thing.
Mhm.
And I change one thing and I reach out to one person.
Yeah, that's good. Like reach out to one
So,
person in a
coach, a therapist,
Mhm.
somebody to say, I'm in a place where I need some support.
Okay.
By doing those two things, I think that I'm giving myself the reins to say, I am in control. I am at choice.
Mhm. Mhm.
I am at choice. And that just shifts the energy for all of it. Because I think the story in my head is you have a lot of things and it is in charge of you. The calendar is the
Right.
boss of you.
Right. You
So
are not your own CEO.
correct. The calendar is the CEO of your life.
You are just the administrative assistant.
Maybe. Not even, I mean, it's just like you're just on the hamster wheel. So
Mhm.
gaining control of my calendar in one small way, usually something optional that I've added. I don't move client stuff unless I really have to.
Mhm.
That's more extreme, but something optional with pretty quick within the next day or two makes me feel like, okay, even if it's that 1 hour where there used to be something, you have a breath coming.
Yes.
There is a 1 hour breath coming where you can sit with yourself and
Mhm.
get curious about this. And then there's another breath coming because you're going to talk to somebody who in the past has been supportive. And those two things usually will help me get my head above the water.
Mhm.
So, yeah, you were on the receiving end of my pause button and you didn't even know it last time. So, thank you for being gracious because I think that's something we can give each other too. Is
Well,
once you find the place to tell the truth.
yeah, I appreciated it. I was relieved. It gave me time to
Yeah.
pause also.
Well,
You
and that's what
know?
I find too. Like,
Yeah.
nobody on your calendar is going to be like, you know what? I really wanted one more meeting today, actually, especially this at the end of the day to drive to your town. So there's some grace in there, grace to ourselves. I think the quicker we can not add should to like, you should be able to
Right.
handle all this. You invited her. You should be able to do it. You said this is a priority. You should be able to figure it out. Quicker we can let go of that and just be with what's true.
Mhm.
Because I don't find that from overwhelm you can solve the problem.
Right. No, 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 no.
You have to get at least to whelm. You're like, I
Mhm.
have to find a life jacket to get to whelm.
Mhm.
Because my tendency is to want to solve the problem, solve why the problem happened, rearrange the whole system and the structure because I'm in charge here. And I just add list to list.
Right.
What I really need is pause.
Mhm.
So those two things, because sometimes I think people hear me talk about this and they're like, I'm not going to go spend 4 days in the woods by myself, Heather. Thank you. I'm glad that you I mean, it is, and it's a place of privilege that I can do those things.
Right.
And what I will say is, as far as the routine practice of managing overwhelm, those two little
Tools.
two little
Yeah.
tools, even if it's just the tool of shifting one thing on your calendar,
Mhm.
And I could talk about calendar all day. Yeah, we don't have time for that, but there are a lot of things I think that are contributing to our overwhelm that are calendar related.
Oh, sure.
That we could, like, how are people protecting time? What are we doing there? What's on the calendar that doesn't need to be? All kinds of stuff. When we remember that we're, especially, Dolly, when I think about, like, we're in leadership. So if we feel like we don't have control over the calendar, who feels like
does?
they do?
Yeah, for
Right?
sure.
Otherwise, staff certainly sometimes don't feel that way. And I'm like, oh, is this me? And him getting a phone call. That's fun. Sorry, friends. That is a chime from the universe to tell us we have talked way too long and we're going to have to edit some of this content out. I'm so grateful for you in this
Oh my
conversation.
gosh, I appreciate you, the warm invitation, and always the conversation the time we can spend together.
I'm gonna. What one thing are you kind of leaving with new curiosity about today? What are you gonna ponder?
I'm going to ponder a lot of things. There are more than one. What it's going to take, what wringing my sponge looks like what is the one tool I could do. I'm going to give myself the permission to move at least one thing off my calendar per week.
Oh, we're gonna scale it.
I really am. Yeah.
And like protect it for something else.
Yeah. Me, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
For me, a big place where it shows up is talking about getting overwhelmed and not healthy behaviors or I need more exercise and activity. And if I don't do it first thing in the morning,
doesn't happen.
It is never going to happen. It is not going to get done. I'm going to be overwhelmed. I'm going to be too fatigued. There's too many other things I've got to do. Like I have to carve that time out. And I go in fits and spurts, So, and then I feel so much physically and mentally better once you've done it. And that in and of itself is a little bit of wringing of the sponge because you've now started your day with a less saturated sponge.
Feels so true to me.
Mm-hmm.
I am a different person if I'm not moving my body.
Yeah.
Right. Again, like as somebody who's just really sensory sensitive, I have a lot of thoughts, I have a lot of feelings. Moving my body helps me settle my snow globe. It gives me time. Sometimes I use that walking time to think about something.
Right.
It's such an important piece of it. I'm going to think about wringing my sponge out too. And especially, actually, I think I know to do it when I feel overstimulated from a sensory perspective. Like there's some versions of it that I know. I want to think about it when I feel frustrated as almost a marker for like, oh, I wonder if that means you're involved in too many things that aren't like, or I'm pushing too hard to try to resolve something. And instead, like I had sponge wringing kind of in a separate toolkit. I have not connected it to this. So I want to think about that.
When we started the conversation, you asked, where's the squeeze? And the squeeze was in a more pinch point friction sort of space. But now we need to conflate or associate the squeeze with the positive. Like, where are we feeling the squeeze and how can we use that to squeeze out our saturated sponge?
Oh, interesting. I just felt that in my body.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel squeezed.
So we started out with we felt where's the squeeze and sort of a negative connotation, right? But maybe when we're feeling the squeeze, that should
like
be
an engine indicator.
Yeah, that we need to squeeze our sponge.
What a great sort of indicator light.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, go forth. I hope y'all let us know what your tools are for how you wring your sponge out, if that metaphor even lands for anybody else.
We're into it.
We're totally into it. I'm going to think a lot about it. And thanks everybody for hanging in. Let's see, what would Ashley want me to say to y'all? I don't know that we've referenced anything that needs to be noted in the show notes, but you can go to the show notes to find out how to find us on Instagram. Please send us if y'all have ideas of other things you want to hear us talk about. You can reach out at connect@standintheand.com. Yeah, and otherwise, just keep being curious about the squeeze.
Yeah.
And what the tools might be that help support you in it. Don't forget that you are not alone in this. And reach out and get some support. But we will look forward. Thank you again for being here, Dolly.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
I
Thank you
feel
for
like
the
we could talk for
curiosity
3
and
hours.
intentionality. We could. We could do a part 2 at some point.
For sure. Yeah. Well, we might have to break this one. We've talked long enough. This might be 2 episodes already. Sending big love to your family.
Oh,
I've had a rough
we have
patch here. So
we bet we're together, and that is
right, the hard and the together.
Yeah, I'm gonna see all of them this weekend, and it's gonna fill my cup, squeeze my sponge.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
See y'all next time.
The Stand in the And podcast is supported by Human-Centered Strategy, where we help leaders and teams build connection and strategy and complexity so that everyone can flourish. To learn more or to work with us, please visit us online at humancenteredstrategy.com or message me on LinkedIn.